7:03.
I will call the meeting to order. This is the May 19th meeting, 7 p.m. of the Branford Rules and Ordinance Committee, the RTM Rules and Ordinance Committee. Can you call the roll call, please?
Yes, John Hartwell. Richard Jennings, here. Susan Dado.
Here.
Sean Kelly, absent. Ralph Murray, absent. Trish Anderson.
Me.
Peter Henschel.
Here.
Name is right.
So we have a quorum. Did everybody receive the meeting minutes?
Yes.
I did.
Anybody have any comments, corrections,
No,
changes? Good job, Richard. Do I have a motion that we accept the meeting minutes?
So
Approve
moved.
the meeting minutes. Second.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
First item on the agenda is to consider and if appropriate, recommend that the RTM designate the road known as Jefferson Place in Branford as a town road as petitioned by the adjacent property owners. I'll give a working group report on that. We are waiting for a survey and a legal assessment of the deeds on those two properties. The town has commissioned Chris Colo Associates to complete that work, and the end date on that contract is the middle of July. So anticipating that we will get that product back during the summer, and most likely we'll hear this and be able to act on it unless there are major issues in September. Does anybody have any questions before we?
The contract is with the surveyor.
Surveyor Chris Colo
The
Associates.
attorney is he working on it now?
I'm not sure whether they have a separate attorney or whether Chris Colo's gotten the attorney. I don't know how the contract is being written. But yeah, they're both being worked on, same schedule. Any other questions? So I would accept a motion that we ask for a re-referral this matter.
Motion to refer. I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Great. Second item on the agenda is to consider and, if appropriate, recommend the establishment of an administrative town ordinance to create a traffic authority as allowed under Connecticut General Statute 7-149D to assume the powers and duties related to traffic currently held by the Board of Police Commissioners. The working group for this is Dan Edelman, Victoria Benarami, and myself. And Dan, since you're here, why don't you report on
Sure.
where we stand?
Thank you, Chairman Henschel. As Representative Henschel just indicated, Victoria Verderam, the minority leader, myself, and Chairman Henschel are the subcommittee looking into this item. We met by Zoom yesterday. In all earnest, things were slowed down a little bit over the past month due to commitments regarding the budget and all the meetings that entailed. So in front of you, I presume
If you
everybody...
look at your second page, I've printed what Dan is going to be referring to.
We have a possible ordinance framework. I think it's more than possible. These, in the highlighted area above each of the bullet points, are the areas of concern that will be in this ordinance that we draft. And they're somewhat self-explanatory. I'm not really sure it's necessary to go through all of them, but the powers of the commission, what the commission is made up of with respect to whom will be on the commission.
Dan, why don't you do a little bit of more detail on who the commissioners might be, a clarification on the ex officio, et cetera?
Yeah, I was going right through that as we speak. So the powers of the commission are by statute. And I guess what's important with the powers of the commission, most importantly, is that you'll note on the last bullet point, any plans generated to propose installation of automatic traffic enforcement safety devices must be approved by the RTM prior to submission to the state for approval, and then must be adopted by ordinance after state approval. The commissioners, the makeup of the commissioners, we are of the opinion so far that 7 members would be the appropriate amount, party affiliation.
Can I interrupt for 1 minute?
Of course you
before we
can.
go too far? The automatic traffic enforcement safety devices, that's different from like the signs that we have right now that tell you what the speed limit is
Yes.
and blink?
Those issue tickets,
Okay,
These are just-
ticket.
information.
Okay, so these other ones wouldn't be included in that category, okay.
It's a highly technical plan that's that ATESD manual that they have that goes through that. It's very technical and thorough. And they make some recommendations and some mandates. And if anybody's interested, we have the booklet so that we could send out to you guys.
One thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, the one thing we wanted to make sure was that people understood that by generating this ordinance, we were not approving these devices. We were just opining as to the procedures that the committee would have to take if they do decide to move forward with such a plan. So that's the way the ordinance is structured.
And as I said before going to the commissioners, we've sort of settled on that 7 members would be the appropriate amount. We've included some ex officio members, which are very important. Police chief or designated officer, fire chief or his designated officer, the first selectman, the town engineer, his designee, and the director of public works or his designee. These areas that the traffic commission will be a whole of is very technical, and a lot of expertise is necessary. It's not just willy-nilly, let's put a stop sign here, a parking lot there. So the input of those, the ex officios that I've just articulated are extremely important. Chairman Henschel's had some communications back and forth with the town engineer, and he has stressed the importance of him having a working relationship with the commission and knowledge of what the commission is doing. And then so far we've discussed for the appointed commissioners what's articulated here: 1 member of the police commission, 1 member of the Branford Bicycle Pedestrian Ad Hoc Advisory Committee, 1 member of the public with complete street expertise, 4 at-large commissioners with relevant diverse experience. We're thinking about 3-year terms with them being staggered, so they're not all coordinated and appointed and term ending at the same time. So these qualifications that are listed here under the 3rd area are what the statute and the applicable statutes indicate need to be the training and qualifications of the members themselves. And you'll note that we cited 14-314E of the Connecticut General Statutes, which makes an obligation for some training requirements for members, or at least some of the members.
Yeah, we're doing more research into that statute to make sure that whether it applies to all members or just 1 or 2 of the members or what. So this needs to be looked at.
Yeah, at first blush, it didn't look like it was to all of them, but we will do some more research on this. And then revolving chairmanship and meeting rules. Thinking about a 3-year term for the chairman. We had some discussions amongst ourselves as the group regarding whether it should be a 2-year term or 3-year term. Notice that we said cannot serve more than 2 consecutive terms in a row, which is not to say that they can't serve more than 2 terms, but not more than 2 consecutively. Obviously,
I'm sorry, that's as a chairman.
As chairman. Yeah.
chairman, yep.
Right.
That was
All
something
meetings
we
obviously will
did
be-
in the Harbor Management Commission as well, created basically that requirement.
Of course, all meetings will be, the public will have an opportunity to address and attend. And then the appointment of those members of this commission. We did do some discussion about this, and obviously we all believe that it should be the Board of Selectmen should be the ones that appoint those members, but we discussed amongst ourselves whether it should be a 2/3 vote or a unanimous vote. And we sort of landed on unanimous to take the partisanship out of it, and depending on whom what party affiliation the first selectman had at any given time. We didn't want to allow that to sort of just be rubber stamped by a 2/3 vote because if there was 2 selectmen of one party.
Dan, other committees do the same thing? Is that unique to this one? Are there other ones where everybody
There are,
has to be
I think,
unanimous?
3 other groups in our code that require unanimous. The Ethics Committee, when we did the appointment of the
Town clerk.
town clerk.
Town clerk.
Town clerk was unanimous.
And the tax collector.
Exactly, yep.
We made those unanimous.
Okay.
Right.
So then the.
All for the same underlying
So
rationale.
The fourth one.
Yeah, to pick the right person, not necessarily the party.
It takes the partisanship out of it.
Yeah,
Correct.
makes it harder to find people that are.
It does, but it makes it less likely that a political hack, for lack of better terminology, is going to get the job for that reason.
Right, right.
Consultation required. It doesn't mean that the recommendations that they need to listen to by the departments that are listed there, which really are the ad hoc members of the committee, that they have to follow their advice, but they need to be considered. And then any regulations involving citation and fines must be authorized by the RTM through ordinance. And then, of course, any proposed installation of speed cameras must be approved by the RTM as well prior to submission to the state for approval, and then must be adopted by ordinance after state approval. We have had a little discussion on the effective date of the ordinance. We landed at 60 days after adoption. There was some discussion about whether that was too quick, but that's what we landed upon so far.
Yeah, the other part of that was the effective date of the ordinance is different from the effective date of the commission, because after
Correct.
the ordinance is created, then we have to go through the appointment process.
Correct.
And assemble the body and have them, elect a chairman. At that point, they can take over the duties after they've elected the chair.
That makes sense.
So there's a lot of emphasis in here, quite appropriately, on the idea of speed cameras, or sort of underlying a lot of what's in here. But this traffic authority would take over all traffic requirements in the town. So a new stop sign, slow down sign, placement of one of those speed bumps, or anything else like that would also fall with this group.
Yes.
Yes. And that would happen within 60 days of it being set up. So, and that's fine. I just wanted to point that
No,
out.
What happens within 60 days?
The authority would
The
transfer.
authority to do that.
Yes, the transfer
Yeah.
authority to do that would
Right.
be.
After they've established.
After
it.
they've been established. So first we would have to pass an ordinance,
Wait 60 days.
and then the selectmen would appoint.
Right.
During that 60-day period, are people applying for the commission?
Probably.
Does an advertisement go out to say this is what
We
we're
didn't
looking
get
for?
into that too much. We started to get into that with the Harbor Management Commission, the actual process of putting in resumes, et cetera, and then we I think, backed away from it a little bit, just to allow the way it's been in the past with basically the first selectman or the selectman being able to make a decision whether they want to advertise or promote it, or just find people privately that were interested. We could, but we just didn't want to get, right now, we didn't want to get into the detail of prescribing how that process worked.
And I think one of the most important things that takes deliberation and consideration for the subcommittee is the qualifications of the members of the commission. Because it's not just hey, there's a lot of speeding here, let's put up a speed camera here. There's a lot of laws and regulations around that. There's engineering issues, there's safety issues, it's very, it's not just something that a citizen can say, hey, we need to put up a speed camera here. There's got to be geographical considerations about width of the streets and proximity from any other ones of that nature, and
I think that was the reason for two things, reason for the ex officios, so we make sure that the primary expertise might be present, and all these decisions were being discussed, and the secondary requirement that if they do decide they want to enact a change, that they do have to get reviews by the various departments that might have something to say, positive or negative about that.
Right, there's a level of expertise that has to be maintained. I mean, you just can't even just put willy-nilly put up a stop sign somewhere. That's a lot more complicated as to where to place a stop sign than would
I was thinking
initially
that
meet the eye.
ex officios are important to this whole
So-
process. I know in our community, there's a never-ending demand for speed bumps, which are opposed by the fire department, so then it never goes anywhere. And so at least this way, it would give people who want to have a voice, they could come to this meeting and say, I keep asking for speed bumps, and they would have people with different expertise from what you're saying, sitting around the table telling them, this is why this hasn't been authorized. So that it's better than just, having one department say no. I think this is a good idea.
The whole idea of this was to basically broaden both the awareness and the ability of the general public to interact with this group and be heard
Yeah.
and considered, whereas it's so.
Will they hold meetings?
Yeah.
They'll hold meetings where the public will come?
It would be a meeting like our meeting, most
Nice.
likely every month.
That's already the case
That's what,
with the current traffic authority,
yeah.
which is part of the police commission.
I knew it was part of the police.
Right, so when the police commission meets, prior to that, they gavel in as the traffic authority or the traffic committee. I'm not sure how they describe themselves,
Right.
but that is the group that does make those
Where do
decisions.
they meet? At the police station?
Well, they used to meet at the police station. I'm sure they're meeting at the fire department now.
Firehouse.
And then, but yes, it's a public meeting.
Yeah.
The one thing, Dan, we didn't discuss is whether we should prescribe that they have monthly meetings.
I was thinking the same thing when Trish asked the question.
That's good.
Representative Anderson asked the question.
That's right.
So
it
I'd
sounds
like to
something
point out that I saw an article today that there are 15 towns in the state which are already approved for traffic cameras through this process. And there's at least another 10 or 12 that are either actually in process or moving in that direction. So
You sent that out to the committee members. I put it in the Dropbox. I copied them.
Oh, good.
Put it in
Okay.
the Dropbox. But if everybody on the committee, maybe you could send it to everybody else on
Of
the
course,
committee.
happy to do that. I just saw it late this afternoon. It's, and the towns that have gotten them are some tiny towns and some quite large towns.
And that article has links to other articles about
Right.
related things too. So
And the
it's-
cameras will capture a violation and a ticket will be sent?
ticket is typically sent to the registered owner.
Owner of the car.
But that's
Yeah.
why it doesn't go on their driver's
Right.
record, because they don't know
Who was driving
And who's in the car?
Who was driving the car, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
So,
I think you said there was the first offense usually is just a warning, and then there's a
It can be
fine.
however you want to set it up. There is a maximum fine, and there is also a provision that you have to be at least 10 miles in excess of the posted speed in order to be ticketed,
For the speed cameras.
for the speed camera to ticket you.
The traffic
And then-
light obviously would be different if they,
Traffic light, I don't know about traffic lights, how that works. There's also who sends out the ticket. It could be a member of the police department can be designated, but can also be someone that is a consultant, someone who is hired by the town to, so these are things that have to be sorted out by.
it's just more money going out, consultants.
Somebody's going to have to, if you're going to put a policeman on, then you're paying the policeman's time.
I mean, obviously there's a whole system.
There's a whole system underneath it.
That somebody's got to be interacting with.
Somebody's got to do it. But at the same time, the towns that have put them in already are starting to make money. So there is a lot of that.
Sorry, guys.
Hey,
Glad to see you.
Glad to be seen.
Hey, Sean.
Talking about the
no,
traffic.
Sean came in on your
Right.
17.
Page 2, traffic authority.
In response to what Trish said too about a separate commission, public meetings, one of the benefits of this is that, you know, I think the scope will be broader than what the police department has offered, and I'm not going to speculate as to what the reasons are. As it's been made public that the chief really was desirous of this happening. And
Probably get it out of his office.
well, 100%.
Give it to somebody else. that
100%.
can really
100%.
take
And the
it.
chief has made that clear.
Yeah.
Which begs the question is, well, why when it was in his office, was it less, a scope smaller than now? But I'm sure there's very valid reasons. They're busy and have other things, and this would be a commission just
On the
focusing on
code.
this.
Yeah.
Just to catch you up, we heard Jefferson Place, and that was just a referral for the obvious reasons. And then we're now talking about the Traffic Commission, and the second, you already got it up on the second page, has a framework that the working group developed which would basically be the structure of the ordinance and the key points. That's what we're talking about right now.
Right, excuse me, the Jefferson Road was briefed first.
Yeah, we're waiting
Yeah,
for a
the-
survey.
We're still waiting for a survey.
Apparently, the contract says that an end date requirement is for the middle of July, so it could be earlier, but at the latest, we get it there. So we're thinking September.
We changed it.
When we meet.
We got some time.
And interestingly enough, excuse me, Sean. Interestingly enough on this proposed ordinance, there is an issue about whether it's a commission or an authority. And I've done some research, and the committee has decided to get an opinion from the town attorney.
We think the commission is the way to go, but we're going to ask
So
them.
the
traffic,
statute said authority.
local traffic authority
It,
or local traffic commission, is that what you're saying?
It would either be the Branford
Traffic Commission
or
and
the
Branford Traffic Authority.
And Victoria had said, I think she said she got it from AI, but it had a whole,
I said that.
you did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I did
did
that.
you get it from AI?
I did.
And basically, it was a pining for Branford that they were recommending, AI was recommending that it be a commission, not an authority, and had a couple of reasons why the authority was not the appropriate way to go. And we can,
They had, I
Sure, that-
saw a list of, you know, what's applicable for authority, what's applicable for commission.
I'm doing it right
And
now.
what the difference is, but it seemed like there was things that were pertinent to this in each side. And I think a case could be made for either way, but I don't think it's gonna take the,
What's the difference?
I didn't bring my sheet with me of all the differences, to be quite honest with you.
I looked it up a long time ago when we started.
And I didn't look at,
It wasn't a finite
Do you want to hear what
difference
AI
between the
says?
two.
well, I looked at more than AI, but yeah, they had the cheat sheet.
The commission is a group of people formally appointed or elected to investigate, advise, or oversee specific tax or regulations. An authority, by contract, is a legal, created, self-governing public corporate body granted specific powers to build, manage, or operate public infrastructures, utilities, or services.
I think because the authority, the idea of the authority is self-governing would mean that we couldn't then have the RTM intervene.
Yeah, but if you go further into that, they have other things that
Oh, yeah.
make it look like it's a commission, and other things that, I mean, that's a sound bite from an initial thing on a phone of
We
AI.
agreed to get Bill Aniskovich to give
Yeah,
us
there's
his thoughts.
you could, I did a bunch of different searches, and some said, oh, it's gotta be commission. Oh my gosh.
I know, right? You can
And then-
go.
And then you see the list.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
We just did this right there.
I'd say, oh, it's gotta be a commission.
Yeah, yeah, so anyways, so as to not flip a coin, we asked, or to let Bill flip a coin, we asked the town attorney.
All right.
Question,
Yes, sir.
how do we know, or how does any town know that there are enough people in the town to be expert enough to be members of this commission or authority?
Well, we have
We already have a traffic
police,
group.
we have
committee,
fire,
So
we have an engineer.
how many people, we know how many people are in the police commission
Couple.
of traffic?
Now, who have traffic
It's like 5 people.
backgrounds? No. My response to that question is that the whole framework of New England self-government is to bring together citizens who are dedicated to doing the right thing, willing to put in the work, and are advised when necessary by people who are experts. So take sort of anything else that goes on, like wastewater, or the fire commission. I mean, these people get together and they but they're citizens, you know. I mean, I don't think Kathy Fox knows a whole lot about fire engines, other than she's on the fire commission, you know, but she puts in the work and she does what, you know. So, to me, the idea here is, we've got a lot of people that you put in here to say they have to have various requirements, but at the same time, there are 4 people on here who I think could be dedicated citizens who are willing to put in the time and energy.
And each have a separate level of expertise for
Maybe
components that are necessary for
I don't
this kind of
know.
plan.
You know, how much expertise are you going to require here? And are you sort of pricing yourself out of the market because you can't find people for all
Well,
those
we'll
different
see.
things?
And we do have the checks and
But it's-
balances of the fact that we have a review process and we have the ex officios who are
Yeah,
major.
Yeah.
You can say the same
knowledgeable
thing
people.
about the Harbor Commission.
yeah.
They have to have some kind of knowledge of the sea and how that works.
Well, that's why we, in the Harbor Commission, remember, we specified groups that we had to select members from. And Josh did a pretty good job of filling those when he did his appointments.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing, you have to find them, dig deep.
But it is hard, it's not easy to find people.
More to the point here is the sentence, members must be familiar with and adopt a complete streets approach to traffic planning, traffic management, and traffic safety. So by putting that in there, you have already tilted the field in one direction. That people are going to have to be cognizant of what a safe streets program is all about.
In fairness to the language here, we did, this particular section that you're reading, we did pull almost verbatim from Fairfield. So we started with their idea of the qualifications, and obviously we'll spend more time looking
Their
at the
membership
details,
list,
but-
though, actually requires someone from the police department as a member,
Yeah.
someone from planning as a member,
which we couldn't do.
which I would not want to see myself. I think
I don't
that's
think we can do it by code.
too prescriptive. They're doing it, I think.
Well, by our code. Because
Okay.
we can't have staff members on committees.
I don't know where that is in the code, but the point is that I would not want that to happen.
Staff members being,
The engineer, the
Yeah.
public works director.
Yeah, that's in
And no
the
pay.
Fairfield code.
I mean, if you do that, basically you're saying the town staff is generating the commission's,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you're giving that whole authority
Right.
basically to staff
Yeah.
as
And
opposed to the public.
I'm
the
much
citizens.
more in favor of what I was outlining a moment ago, which is the competent, dedicated citizen who's willing to put in the time and energy and who will be advised by the experts where necessary. But people have to make decisions. I mean, do we want speeding on Monowee Street? You know, if not, then what are we going to do about it? I mean, I think that's a fair place for someone to come onto the commission and say, I have problems with these sorts of things, and I want to see them fixed. At the same time, you would have people who are experts, like town engineer, like people from the police, saying, okay, we have to take these other things into account at the same time. We can't just put up 14 speed bumps on Monowee and slow the traffic.
it would slow the traffic down.
It would, including
Slow the fire readiness down, too.
fire trucks down too.
And slow the
And
snow
that's what they want.
plows down.
Not at all.
So basically that was,
That's where we are.
that's where we are.
Okay,
And
that's good, a lot of work.
I would anticipate that our next step as a working group is basically to take this and to start to turn in the actual legal language of this, various sections of this, and just, you know, solve a couple of questions that we have.
Yeah, I've actually started some of that a little bit, yeah, today.
So when are we meeting over the summer?
We normally do not meet in July and August
Okay,
unless we have to, in which case it would be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could probably do a Zoom here if we need be.
right, so I'm just thinking in terms of
So we have
the
one more.
process of producing this, because as you've said, it's very legal and you know,
Technical.
Technical.
Yeah.
I mean, we were considering if we feel like we've made enough headway that we really have it pretty much defined. We can also, I can always call a couple of special Zoom meetings where we can do what we do normally when we get to that point, and pull it up on the computer and have everybody looking at the line by line, the language, and agreeing to it, the whole thing, and get it done potentially. From our committee's point of view, we could possibly get it done before July, if we don't have July's meetings, but
Hopefully we can get it done by September.
September, definitely.
Okay, all right, that's what I was.
That time frame would fall in with the 60 days after July and August, we don't meet. 60 days would be,
Well, the 60
Effective
days is
date of voting.
after the RTM
It's
is.
after it gets
actually,
voted,
yeah.
but it's a 60,
If we-
like a cool down period or something? What do you
Well,
know?
there is already, what is it, a 30-day requirement on any ordinance
Yes.
because of the ability for the public to
Petition.
petition a change.
Process. Mhm.
Yeah, so we have to wait that, and that 60
Right.
days gives us
Yep.
a little more time, because we have to get a committee together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could I take advantage of all of your experience by asking a silly question? It says here that the appointment is by the Board of Selectmen and a unanimous vote is required. Is that hard to get, a unanimous vote of the selectmen? Or is that what usually
In
happens?
general, there are a lot of
Depends on the
times where-
candidate.
Yeah. In the past, there have been times when the Board of Selectmen have basically voted to do things along party lines. But this is different. This is something that's
To avoid that,
long-term.
this is different on purpose, to avoid that.
Yeah.
Right.
Pardon?
And this is different on purpose, to avoid that, and it leads to good government, it leads to what government's about, compromising, and they'll have to, then
That
nobody's
sort of
gonna...
forces because at some point, like, you might not end up with enough people on your committee if you can't come to some sort of
Yeah,
agreement about
I don't,
things.
I mean, my gut feeling says that getting the Board of Selectmen to agree on a candidate, unless they were somebody crazy with a word in their
Yeah.
head, they're
It should.
probably going to be,
And this is,
A good
yeah, and this is...
This isn't traffic, this is a nonpartisan thing, this is universal to the town.
Right, I think with the unanimous decision, having to be unanimous, that mandatory language there just stops, hypothetically from some political hack who's helped somebody in a campaign that's the
Right.
first selectman,
Right, it's a
I mean,
good
one
job.
place, for instance, that
Right.
it happened in the past with the fact that it wasn't unanimous is on the Planning and Zoning Commission appointments. Because there have been various first selectmen in town over the years who have had different ideas about, what kind of strictness the Planning and Zoning Commission should apply to development, et cetera. So candidates have been picked and approved, I think, more because of the way the party feels they will act, and less just in general, for the benefit of the town.
And this takes that away.
And this would take it away.
And planning and zoning is always a different breed, because you get commissioners have neighbors, and people are the subject of the controversies, and that's always been a persistent problem through any town, in any state, with planning and zoning. There's a very high-profile case
And
in
ZBA.
Connecticut where a judge
So one
owned
commission
a piece of
I remember,
property.
He owned
ZBA.
a piece of property.
Yeah, he was on the zoning, a neighbor.
Our
and-
CBA is way.
Yeah.
Not good. Too many hands
I
in
think
one
what happened
pot.
was it appealed from the planning, and that judge heard it, and it was his neighbor. I think that's what it was. Planning and zoning always has that problem.
So do you have any more questions on this?
No,
It's
good,
very complete.
good progress.
Let's,
Thank you.
let's ask.
Thank you all.
well, I actually do. What would the scope of that be? The commission, what would the authority? I mean, we can't go out and give somebody a ticket, can we? Or are we more to
This is
like...
traffic.
Right, so different ways of...
Look at number one on this
I
list.
guess the commission decided to create a rule or to enact speed cameras, et cetera, but something that required actual citations and possible fines being issued. The provision in here is that has to be approved by the RTM. That can't be approved just by the commission. So
Okay.
if they want to do anything that involves fines, tickets, citations, et cetera, then they have to come back to the RTM for approval, and the state in the case of the traffic cameras.
Sean, if you look at the powers of the commission on the possible ordinance framework, I think that's kind of highlights the scope.
Oh, you mean the second bullet point?
The first bullet point.
However, recommend traffic regulations. Okay, so we're not a ticketable
No,
commission.
We're not.
Not a moving violation, but as a police officer would be on the street.
The commission that we're creating doesn't have any really different powers than the current police commission subgroup for traffic. It's the same set of powers that they have.
So we're
just changing the venue essentially in the membership.
We're kind of taking a little bit of
A lot of the.
well, the police department, when people go to complain about something, they can complain here instead, and then we can bring it to them.
Yeah.
In like a traffic
Yeah.
camera, for instance.
Stop sign.
And I think it allows
Speed bump.
more ability for the public to come and make their thoughts be known.
And not a little bit, the entire amount.
The entire
We're
amount.
separating the police
All of it.
commission from the police department to a separate entity.
Let's say somebody wants one of those machines that show how fast you're going.
Okay.
You would go and you would ask for that to go into your neighborhood or something, right? So you can see where people are speeding. So something like that.
Doesn't stop a police officer when they see somebody running a stop sign to issue a moving
That
violation ticket.
they're still gonna do that.
They still-
Yes, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing
These are all the
that,
nuances that they do.
Yeah.
because a lot of the things that the commission may have purview over and want to enact, like whether it's those, radar things that tell your speed, or a speed bump, or a sign, et cetera, they involve money. And that involves other staff in the town. So the one requirement we've added in here is that if the commission wants to enact something, any of those things, that they have to get a review by the various departments in town, the engineer, the public works, and the fact that the ex officio is already the police and fire chief are going to get it. So they'll be able to say, this is a bad idea, we can't pay for it, or whatever, as part of the process.
Thank you.
So we didn't vote, did we? Do I
Motion to
do I have a
re-refer?
motion? Yeah.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Good. Last
Hi, Dan.
item, thanks, Dan. Last item on the agenda is to consider and, if appropriate, recommend the establishment of a town ordinance to allow a senior property tax freeze for certain qualified senior Branford homeowners. Our working group has not met, partly because of budget, and partly because I failed to
Stop it.
show up for a Zoom meeting I scheduled today. But Tricia also wasn't available to that meeting either. So we
Wait,
didn't.
3 minutes, 3 minutes.
No, you had 3 o'clock. It was scheduled for 2.
I know, he called me 3 minutes after 2.
Oh, well.
3 minutes,
Okay.
3 minutes. I
He
was like,
called me
oh,
3 minutes after 2, too.
let me jump
I wasn't
on.
even home. Anyway,
I was willing to
the
jump
point
on.
being that we really haven't made any specific progress, but what I did do is to include again the information we submitted in the last meeting, which had some of the basic elements that we were considering. Only in case some of you have read it and have any further thoughts, comments you'd like to add in. Our next step as a group is to start to put actual metrics to these various categories of qualification. And then once we have the metrics, we can run it through a spreadsheet to analyze the impact. But that's our next step. We should have made more progress. We haven't. But if anybody has any questions about where we've been so far, we are here. We can answer them.
On the second page here, you have some numbers.
Yeah, just for interest, I added this page. I didn't put it in past, but this is just the current tax relief program for the elderly that we have in town. This is not a freeze. It's a state mandated, and we did get information on what the impact has been to the tax rolls and how many people are participating.
Yeah, this does not include the people who are in the deferment program.
Right.
This is those who are part of the mandated state program, to which Branford adds an extra $300.
The deferral program, there was only a handful of people in there, wasn't there? It's like-
Yeah, but then the overall number was somewhat larger than.
You mean the dollar number?
The dollar number.
Yeah, but the deferred dollars we get back, these dollars we won't get back.
Yes, the deferred dollars we get back, some of them are not charged any interest at all. Some of them are charged a maximum of 3% interest. So,
So we might lose.
so we
some.
don't get back all the money
Some
that
of the
goes into
value
the
of our money.
referral. Yeah, that's just.
But I did the math,
And we can change that, by the way.
it's, you mean as a part of this?
As a
action?
part of this package, we could address the deferral program, which the tax collector has suggested that we do. Because the maximum income levels for the state mandated program and the deferral program are different. And the tax collector has suggested that we, in fact, increase the maximum income levels for the deferral program, because it hasn't been addressed since it was put in place so many years ago. So these are things that we can talk about.
My only feeling about that was that if, it was personal, but if we were to decide we wanted to jump into that area also, my thought is it'd probably be cleaner if we did it as a separate action and not,
Combine it
and a
with-
separate ordinance, not combine it all into the freeze ordinance, which might get confusing. But we can talk about that.
If you increase the max levels, what did you say? You're going to increase, what?
In the deferral program, the maximum amount of money that a couple or a single person can have as income is higher, the threshold is higher than it is for the state mandated, what they call it, I forget what they call it.
Tax relief.
Well, yes, it's a tax relief program, so.
The circuit breaker program.
The so-called circuit breaker program, right. So the state mandates a program for which the maximum income for a couple is 56.5, something in that
Okay.
neighborhood. And for a single person, it's somewhere in the mid-40s. Can't remember the numbers.
So they want to increase that?
And those numbers are set by the state.
We already reached them, right?
And what we do is that we, as a town, if someone qualifies for the state program, we add an extra $300 as the town to the benefit. So the income levels are set by the state.
I thought we actually increased the income levels also, didn't we?
Not on that, no.
Not on that.
So the income levels for that program are set by the state. They increase every year. The state puts out a bulletin at the beginning of the year
okay.
saying, here's what the income levels are for
Okay.
this particular program. And right now, it's like 56.5 for
And that's a
America.
max amount?
And that's a maximum amount, and there's levels within that.
Okay.
So, and all of that is handled in the assessor's office. So if you want to
So we tacked on the
participate in that
$300
program, you go to the
benefit.
assessor's office, and you fill out the forms, and you talk to them,
Branford,
whatever.
Branford has a $300 benefit in addition.
And then if you qualify, the Branford adds a $300 benefit to what the state has already mandated, which we're also paying.
And we
When
don't
the
get
program
that
was
back.
first set up, the program was funded by the state, then they stopped funding it in
And we don't get
2017, but they
anything.
kept the
We don't get any
mandate,
of this
so we pay this. So that million whatever that
When I heard increase, I was just worried that
So
it's out.
then there's the tax deferral program, which is separate. It's run through the tax collector's office. And the maximum income for that as a couple is now $75,000, I believe. And the tax collector has suggested this in conversation, that we increase that under the idea that we're going to get the money back. But that's a separate program. But that is also for seniors.
Yes.
And there's, qualifications for that, and that runs through the tax collector's office, not through the assessor's
So
office.
those are 3 total programs, the one we're talking about, and those other 2 that are already in place.
Yep.
Right, and then there's one in the middle where it's for
Veterans.
veterans and Gold Star families.
Right,
And that's got income maxes in between the two.
yep.
Just as a matter of the impact of
It's a
the
lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts.
the existing loss that Branford is incurring right now because of the circuit breaker program.
Is that what that
is
175
roughly,
is?
Yeah, 0.14% of our tax roll, so we're losing that percentage of income
Right.
essentially.
Okay.
Why is there, and I probably already know this answer, more unmarried applicants than married? Probably because,
Death.
oh, yeah. Thank you.
Death and divorce.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Very-
That's what I assume.
that's a guess.
Yeah.
That's death and divorce.
Well, you know, that, and it says elderly, so that's why I put two and two together, and that's probably why.
They go from one category into the other.
So I think one of the things that we're, on the income level, we're considering, if I'm polling our group correctly, we're considering possibly making the income levels, thresholds a little bit higher than what the state mandated circuit breaker program is. We haven't decided on any of this, but
Oh, for a tax freeze program?
for the tax freeze program,
Yeah.
it might be higher, is one possibility.
And the other question is whether you would have to choose Program A versus Program B, and
Yeah,
whether
whether
we
you could double dip.
So there are things to be thought through here. The circuit breaker program is mandated by the state. Somebody walks in the assessor's office, they have the right income, they have the right age, they own the piece of property in town, I think you have to give it to them. I don't think there's any leeway.
But we don't have to give them this because.
We don't have to give them this on top of it, no.
No, you can't double dip.
Well, that's, yeah, that's,
Well, that would have to be in the wording of the,
yeah,
Right.
we have to.
Right. And then there is a separate program.
You can't participate in multiple programs just because you qualify. You have to pick one.
I'm not sure right
We don't
now
have to,
what
but
the
we can
relationship
decide
is
to.
between the deferral program and the mandated program.
well, there's also state programs, correct?
That's what we're
This
talking
is-
about.
Right.
This,
This-
the
You
one,
can't
there
be
is a
part of
state
that.
That
mandated
information
program.
there
And
is
then be part of
state
this.
mandated program, but it's Branford's program, but it's mandated by the state.
Okay.
We have to do it.
And they
You
don't pay
can't-
us back.
You can double dip if we say you can double dip.
Right,
Yeah.
or we can take that into account so you can. So
Another
we
thing,
need to think that
key
through.
thing that's a difference, where I think we're headed here is in terms of income level, is that when, on the state program, you have to show evidence of your income, your tax forms or whatever they're required to, as an indicator of your income. They don't say anything, or they don't have any requirement that you show what your assets are.
It's true.
So you could, in theory, have, a $30,000 income and be paying IRS on $30,000 and have $2 million in the bank in cash. And so we
We would
Someday we
want to separate that and see what,
Yeah.
the determination of what your assets are in addition to your income is something we felt we need to address here. And put some limit on. We're not going to be able to require documentation on that because that's an incredibly sticky thing. It's going to have to be a certification, which would mean they'd be creating fraud if they certified.
Then we'd have to figure out how to find out if they're lying.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult.
How do you
Well,
do
that's,
that?
Peter was just saying, it's difficult to require all the, and make sure that all the documentation is there
Yeah.
for something like,
Basically,
we've got an offshore
documenting your
account.
wealth is very
The
difficult.
other, well, could you ask for a tax return? Because a tax return,
Oh, you have
It's not going to show.
it'll show
anything about it.
interest.
it'll show what they made.
Yeah, but it won't.
It's not going to
It
show
won't
what's
show
on
interest, it doesn't
what's on
show
the
it.
mattress.
It won't show like a 401K plan somewhere. It won't show a pension, it won't show a 401K plan.
Won't show your
unless-
stock.
Unless you start pulling from it, like when you're 73. When you start getting an RMD, you start getting
Yeah,
income
some
from
of
that. All of a
those things would show
sudden-
up, but those are
Yeah.
relatively small numbers compared to what you could have in terms of
Oh, yeah.
assets. So
I
we need to-
understand.
We need to have some mechanism where we get the person to certify what their true assets are.
Yeah, and their car can't be expensive, no, I'm kidding. Can't.
And that they don't have unreported income, because you could get a situation where, elderly family is being supported by their wealthy kid.
Kids, sure,
And you'd never know it in their tax forms.
right,
You're
because
never-
they're just
you're never
paying
gonna
their
know it
bills.
anyway.
Yeah.
He's just not gonna know it
You're
anyway.
not going to know it anyway, but they would have to certify.
Anything we do also has to take into account that there's administrative burden on the, whichever office we
Yeah.
give this to, tax collector or
Yeah.
to
That's gonna have
assessor.
to, yep,
or to some third office, whatever. And we have to take that into account, that there's a
Human element.
There's a reasonable level of requirement to get into a program, and then beyond that, you know, there may be some fraud somewhere, but
Yeah, we're gonna have to take people at their word.
The other,
at some level you do,
other
yes.
number we've had, we're going back and forth on, is the number of years we're requiring them to have home ownership in Branford for a certain number of years. Doesn't have to be the same home, but they have to own a home. And, you know, with a start point, the low number on that is probably 10 years. And then we're talking, I think,
20.
You thinking higher, and
I say 20.
maybe we're somewhere between, I don't know, but that's another number we have to work through. And
If you figure somebody's living in town and they're raising their family, they lived in their house for 15 years, and then they downsize and go to a condo for another 5, there's your 20. You know, it's not an unreasonable number.
Well,
anyway,
to be a Short Beach resident, you need to have been there for 50 years, so.
Called Short Beach resident.
same
So
thing
you
for Stony
qualify
Creek, you have to be
that,
in
too.
for 100 years.
Yeah,
Oh, the creek,
exactly.
absolutely. Yeah, the creek.
So, any
I'm
other,
having a hard time figuring out, why is there a cap on the maximum appraised value?
a cap on the what?
Maximum
Max.
appraised value.
Maximum
Appraised
appraised
value?
value.
Because we don't want to be having a tax freeze on somebody that owns $1 million house. First of all, you're probably not going to get somebody who can afford a $1 million house, and pay taxes on the regular taxes if they have an income that's below these thresholds. But the idea that if somebody has a house that's valued, we are looking at sort of the median house prices, maybe the cutoff point, which would mean 50% of the houses, the number of houses in Branford would qualify.
Oh, that makes sense.
And the median's around 450.
Do you have any statistics on that, whether
Yeah, we
it's
have-
lower income that is asking for the deferments or the tax breaks?
We have a lot of individual statistics, is where you try to add the statistics on top of that certificate. That sometimes you can get that information, sometimes it's not available, and we have to start to guesstimate what that might be, but it's not published.
This spring, we did some publicity around the current tax programs. More people came in to the assessor's office to apply, and Paula quickly helped them figure out whether they were in the ballpark or not. And a lot of them weren't. The incomes they walked into, their incomes were more than what the state maximum was, and she said,
You don't
Sorry.
qualify.
you're not going to qualify. So,
Okay.
Thresholds,
thresholds,
yeah.
Now, in terms of the maximum value of the home, it's my understanding that the deferral program doesn't have a maximum value of the home. So someone could have $1 million or $1.5 million, worth of house, and a tax rate that matches off to that. And they could come into Bob, and if they had a lower income but a very high value on the house, then they could get into the program and have 75% of their taxes deferred.
Oh, it's only 75%.
75% of your taxes can be deferred.
Deferred,
Deferred,
Yeah.
as long as you're willing to have a lien
So
put
be in
on
your house, then.
yep.
right? So
That means we're gonna get it back.
we're going to get it back.
I like the
The
deferral.
fact of the matter is, for those people that own the really valuable houses, and there are some that own an expensive house, or it's gotten to be expensive, and they are on a very limited income, this is probably the better program for them, because it does allow them to limit their exposure, but it also, since they have basically the value in their house that's quite high, it gives them the room to allow these liens to be placed and pay it later, obviously, when they die or move.
We place a lien on somebody's house. God forbid those people pass away,
Yep.
and they left the house to their children.
Yeah.
Do they have to pay that back before that?
Yeah.
Or does that lien carry over?
Yeah,
Yep,
you can't,
Okay.
because they don't
the
qualify.
deed
Yeah,
can't,
right.
the deed can't change hands until
The debt has to be
Because
cleaned.
okay,
Yeah.
I like that.
My concern
True for any
with the
lien.
deferral program is
Okay.
the tax rate on the deferral program was set at 3% maximum. So
Say that again.
I said the interest rate on the deferral program was set at 3% maximum. So if.
The money you borrow or,
Basically, that's what you're doing. You're borrowing money from the
Right.
town in order to pay your taxes.
You'd like to set it higher.
And I'd like to set it higher.
4%.
I'd like to set it at the market rate, whatever the market rate is, and that would be my position. I'd be happy, for example, to have
Really?
somebody, yeah,
That's surprising.
why?
I don't know, because it's
If you're borrowing money from the town,
yeah, no,
I don't
I'm, great, I'm for it.
okay, so my position
Right.
going in on the deferral program, which Peter doesn't really want to get into, but
I want to get into it, but on a separate.
it's separate
I don't want
basis,
to-
as long as we're going to get into it
dissect
one way or
that
the other, I'm
another
happy, I'm happy.
It
to-
seems that there's three separate things
There
that
are
need to be
three
done.
We're
separate
focusing
things
right now
on the
fees.
tax freeze.
We're not trying
Yeah,
to
we still
add
have to-
all these
that-
other things together, we're just talking about them.
But I would go into the deferral program and say, sure, we can raise the income level, why not? As long as you're going to borrow money from the town at a rate that.
Well, that would be a nice offset,
Yeah.
raise the income and then raise the interest rate.
The other
That would
way
be-
of looking
that
at
would be
that
a good
interest,
offset.
setting that interest rate is not necessarily the
Allowing more
the
people
going
in.
interest rate, but the interest rate that the town gets for the value of their money. In other words, their investment rate, which would be probably somewhere in between.
So let's say 6%, let's say,
You know,
Depends on
We
where
have
it's
an
invested in.
investment
The town is
return on a
limited,
general fund, for
the
instance.
town is
Well, if you
limited,
borrow
it's all
money from the bank,
treasuries,
you're
is that all
paying.
treasuries?
right.
What?
So it's kind of the same thing.
It is the
Whatever
same
it is,
thing.
that's essentially the money we're losing by not having a
Yeah,
policy.
so even if you add a point to whatever we're getting, it's like, get a little bit back.
That would help offset the money that we are handing out on the other programs as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because we
Anyway,
don't get any of that back, correct?
Right.
no, you don't get any of that back. You're right.
And that's the harder sell because you're
And we're not going
asking
to get any of this tax freeze money back.
the tax freeze.
Right.
So it freezes at a point in time. That's the harder sell because all that money wasted lost is getting pushed out on everybody else.
Else.
Where the deferral program, we're borrowing it from the town, but we're gonna end up getting it back over time. So it's just, I don't like pushing things on other people. You know, the family of five, I always go back to the mom and dad with the 3 kids. It's hard to say, but then when people are struggling, you still have to pitch in on
That's
some
why,
of
really
it.
why, when we get the basic numbers, we're going to apply all these things. We can run it through a spreadsheet program to see what that impact on the other people that are
How
basically
much?
paying for it,
Yeah.
everybody else. See what it really is. You
What,
know, is it a,
what number would you use as far as the amount of people? What would your divisor be?
well, that's one of the things we have to figure.
Yeah, because you can't be 29,000, because that's how many people, so you'd have to drop that down to like,
Well, the number of people in the circuit breaker program is certainly would be one start point.
well, not so much, I'm talking about the other people in town that are paying taxes, so I would think the tax collector would have a good number.
You
How many
mean
adults?
To figure out how much the impact would be?
Yeah.
We don't need to know that because we can easily just determine the mill rate change.
Oh, I see,
So determine the mill rate change, everybody can apply it to themselves.
gotcha.
Will there be a limit to how many can apply?
I think
There
we
wouldn't
did
be a limit to how many could apply, but we did put, what some towns have done is put an overall cap on the program,
Yes,
just in case, we got things wrong and.
And we
things
lose
are
a lot of
running-
money.
Running amok, kind of, with people entering the program, that we would put a limit on how this impact on the town, how far it could go.
percentage wise,
And
yeah.
if it
So
reaches that point.
essentially that's all the time to lose.
Yeah, then we stop.
Like
Stop the
like
program,
like
or
it's
we
500,000
prorate do
or something,
But
yeah.
definitely, I think putting a cap on it.
And there's two, I have two feelings on it. The first one is, I feel that we should help long-term Branford residents.
Yeah.
But I also don't feel that we should charge the rest of those residents for that same thing.
hard to do both.
Yeah, it's next.
It's hard to do
it's
both.
Next to impossible.
Yeah, but I see the whole community, pulling together, so to speak. I get that part, as long as it's not too much of a burden.
If people understand what the impact is, then they can really decide.
I mean, if
Does this make sense? Am I willing to spend an extra,
if it's $175 for the year, if you break it down to a taxpayer, you can kind of swallow that pill.
so that's the key number we want to get to, is
Yeah.
what is the impact on everybody else? How much is it going to cost the town? What's the impact on everybody else?
So we re-refer?
Motion
Yes.
to re-refer.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Any other business to
Good
come before the
discussion,
commission, or working group, committee, whatever we are, committee? Okay,
Yeah.
don't want to add any new ordinances onto,
No.
Back to the Jefferson Road.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you already answered. We're just waiting on
Survey.
the survey.
survey and title search. And we did get a date, did I say a date?
Yeah, July or something, but they had to be by the end of July.
That was their contract.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
8:05.